Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is March 12th, 2026, and Victor Font met with Manchester City over the possibility of signing Erling Haaland. Also, Lamine Yamal absent from today's training. And finally, how Xavi's Spart could be important this weekend. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Boo. We'll begin this video with the news that we have an official decision by the Catalan Football Federation in regards to Marc Siria's appeal, which of course will affect this weekend's election that will take place on Sunday to determine who will be the next FC Barcelona president. Now, as you know by now, Marc Siria submitted 2,844 signatures in order to become an official candidate. Of course, the minimum required is 2,337. However, after going through the validation process, the club invalidated close to 500 of those signatures because they didn't meet the formal requirements, leaving Marc Siria 90 signatures away from the required minimum to become an official candidate. And as such, he was disqualified, and only Joan Laporta and Victor Font became the official candidates. Now, Marc Siria submitted an appeal to the Catalan Football Federation stating that out of the 500 invalidated signatures, 379 were invalidated for no legal reason. And well, the Catalan Football Federation has ruled on this appeal and has denied it. So the election will go through on Sunday because, of course, as I told you during yesterday's podcast, had the Catalan Football Federation agreed with Marc Siria, Barcelona would have had to postpone the election because, of course, that would have only left Marc Siria with like 2 or 3 days to campaign. Now, Marc Siria announced after this decision that he will appeal the Catalan Football Federation's decision because he believes that the rules were not followed. Marc Siria alleges that according to Barcelona's bylaws, if a signature doesn't meet the requirement, you're supposed to be afforded 48 hours to go and get that signature fixed. And Marc Siria says that he was not awarded those 48 hours to fix the signatures. Also, Marc Siria alleging that there was some misconduct in the whole validation process because Joan Laporta's brother was actually present at the validation event, and he was actually going to the tables pointing out what signatures did not meet the requirements. And of course, Marc Siria says that this is a clear conflict of interest. Now, honestly, I don't really think that this appeal will go anywhere, but just know that yes, Marc Siria is appealing the decision of the Catalan Football Federation. I say I don't think it's gonna go anywhere because the election is right around the corner. Anyways, on to that next bit of news, because ladies and gentlemen, Carlos Monfort has spotted 2 members of Victor Font's staff leaving the hotel where Manchester City were staying at in Madrid, and it seems that they were there to discuss the possibility of signing Erling Haaland. Now, Carlos Monfort caught the 2 members from Victor Font's staff, which are Carles Blanchard, who has worked with Pep Guardiola for 2 decades at Barca, Bayern Munich, and Manchester City, and also Javier Aguilar, 2 people as part of Victor Font's board if he will to become a president. And both Blanchard and Javier Aguilar were seen leaving the Four Seasons Hotel in Madrid where Manchester City were staying for the Champions League because, of course, they did play and lose against Real Madrid. And it seems that both Carles Blanchard and Javier Aguilar were there to meet with Manchester City CEO Ferran Soriano and the sporting director Hugo Villana to try to secure a preferential purchase option. Now, what does this mean? That means if in the future Manchester City decide to sell Erling Haaland, Barcelona would have a preferential option, which means we would be number 1 to try to in line to sign Erling Haaland again in case Manchester City do decide to put him on the market. Now, Victor Font earlier today, confirmed that yes, his staff did indeed meet with the club to discuss a preferential signing option, saying the following. Excuse me. Haaland is one of the best center forwards in the world, without a doubt. In the short term, he is not available for signing because he renewed a very long-term contract last year. But personally, I'm convinced that these 10-year contracts are rarely fulfilled. Anything is possible, and we have to be prepared for a player of this talent who has said he likes Spain and declared last year that he loves Camp Nou to make a move. We want to make a move that protects us and give us these options. We are working on it, and I am convinced that it can happen. We have the sports structure working in the market. We will only be able to talk to Flick starting on Monday. Of course, saying, assuming that he's going to win the election on Monday. But in Haaland's case, it is clear that in the short term, neither the economic situation nor sports planning make him an immediate solution. Even so, we are convinced that we can have a preferential options. We are talking, and I'm convinced that we will do it. They have no interest in selling Haaland. It is a planning move. We hope to be able to announce it as soon as we can close the deal. I don't know if it will be possible before Sunday. So Victor Font making it very clear, hey, Haaland right now is not possible given the club's financial situation. And of course, given the fact that Haaland just renewed for 10 years and Manchester City are not interested in selling. However, Victor Font saying that this move is kind of like planning ahead, looking into the future, where if Man City down the road decide to sell him, or Haaland tells Man City, hey, I want to leave, Victor Font is trying to secure a preferential options, which means we would be number one. We would be the number one club that we would be offered the option to sign Erling Haaland. Now, Victor Font made something very clear, and this is very important given the next bit of news. But Victor Font said the following: there has been no talk with Haaland because it's a matter for the clubs. But you should know that Carles Blanchard, that's the guy who went to the hotel and met with Manchester City, whom Erling Haaland considers a second father, has a very close relationship with him. They love and appreciate each other very much. We mustn't mislead people by saying that he'll be playing for Barca next year. So Victor Font making it very clear, look, we did not talk to Haaland. We went and met with Manchester City because we're trying to reach an agreement with Manchester City. Why is this important? Because a few hours later, the agent of Erling Haaland made the following statement. I have often said that we have a lot of respect and admiration for FC Barcelona, but there has been no contact with Haaland or his manager with FC Barcelona or any of their candidates for a transfer. The player renewed his contract a few months ago. He is very happy at Manchester City. He's doing very well, and we really have nothing to discuss about a transfer when everything is going so well for him at Manchester City. So a few hours after Victor Font gave that interview stating that and clarifying clearly that the meeting was with Man City, not with Haaland, Haaland's agent came out and said, we haven't met with anyone from Barcelona. Now, why is this important? Because, of course, a lot of media outlets, a lot of YouTubers, a lot of social media personalities aligned with John Laporta immediately ran with this news like, look, Victor Font lied, look, here's the agent of Haaland saying that he lied. And it's like, no, Victor Font clearly stated that he did not meet with Haaland. And that's exactly what Haaland's agent said, that no, she hasn't met with anyone from Barcelona. Now, of course, many of these people who ran with the story forgot to mention that part of the interview where Victor Font clearly says there has been no talk with Haaland. So just to clarify, in case you did come across those posts, because I saw them all over social media. Anyways, let's move on to the next bit of news because, as you know, Barcelona are currently training and preparing for the weekend's match against Sevilla at home, which, of course, will be in front of 62,000 people as Barcelona have received the 1C license. And while one person who was not present at the training session was no other than Lamine Yamal. And it seems that Lamine Yamal was absent because he was feeling discomfort. However, he is expected to return to training tomorrow, normally, with no problems. And he has not been ruled out whatsoever from the match against Sevilla. It seems that that discomfort was not really like muscular or fatigue or anything like that. It was more like stomach discomfort. So in other words, the player was feeling unwell. That's why he missed the training. However, he's expected to be back in training tomorrow, and Lamine is expected to be available for the match against Sevilla. Now, one player who could be starting against Sevilla or at least getting some important minutes is no other than Xavi Espart, the Barcelona academy player who debuted in the Champions League against Newcastle. He only played, I think, about 8 minutes, But as I mentioned in post-match live analysis, I was very impressed with his minutes, even though they were very short. And it looks like Xavi Espart could either start or play a significant amount of minutes against Sevilla, given, of course, that Barcelona have Jules Koundé and injured, and Joao Cancelo has played 3 consecutive matches, so his minutes might need to be managed. So Xavi Espart, the fullback with good attacking instincts, could be getting more minutes against Sevilla. Now, I got to say, I think I mentioned this in a previous video when I was talking about Koundé and Balde's injuries. Is like, of course, we don't want injuries. We want all of our players healthy. But if there's a silver lining whenever there's injuries, are these that then we can get to see the younger players shine. So hopefully Xavi Espart can get more minutes. Hopefully he can shine, and who knows, maybe he can become a valid option for the first team. He definitely has the potential to be. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. We'll be uploading another video in a few moments, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, Viscarsa.